So the next question arises, how is light emitted in the system of fluorescence and phosphorescence? So we have learned that the electrons grow from ground state to an excited state, and then when they return back they emit some light. This can be related to a concept of colorimetry. What you do in colorimetry is you have a cuvette with some solution, and when the light is shined on this, there is some light emitted out and we record this light. This is what is happening when we record this light. This is what is happening in general fluorescence and phosphorescence. So what happens is, in colorimetry you shine some light on the solution and some light gets emitted. This follows a Beer-Lambert's law, and this particular light which gets emitted is recorded in the readings. So the next question would be to address, how is the light emitted? It just takes up just a few minutes of exposure to other sources of light. Now it can be a natural light or artificial light. Now these light which is natural or artificial is taken up by the photoluminescent compounds. Now for example, they are like zinc sulfide to fully charge, and then they can go on emitting the light for prolonged periods. This is called as delayed fluorescence, or it is called as phosphorescence. We have already seen what is a phosphorescence phenomena. That is, in the phosphorescence phenomena, we have observed that the singlet state is first turned into a triplet state, it goes to some transition state and then returns back to the ground state. Now the next question is, what are the benefits of doing this phosphorescence? Energy is generally clean and renewable, and the same material which was used once could be used n number of times, so that the light can absorb again and again without having the material to be replaced. Secondly, photoluminescence is a safer option for the environment also. Now coming to the concept of fluorescence spectroscopy. The major applications for fluorescence spectroscopy is studying the structural changes in conjugated system. It can be a structural changes in aromatic compounds and rigid planar compounds. Now when I say studying structural changes in conjugated compounds is, we can say that there is this butadiene system. Now this is in a trans fashion. Now can I not write it in a cis fashion? So these kind of structural changes can be observed in the conjugated system. The second is understanding structural changes in aromatic molecules. Now for example, if I just write nitrobenzene, how can we represent nitrobenzene? Is by writing N double bond O minus. We can see these resonating structures by the resonating systems. We can understand the conjugation system through the resonating structures. These resonating structures could be studied by fluorescence spectroscopy. Most common example would be, if I take up phenol. Now phenol can be said that once I add a NaOH system, then this shall becomes a sodium phenate. Now these structural changes can also be learned from the fluorescence spectroscopy. The third is rigid planar compounds. Now if there are certain compounds like these biphenyl systems, now they do not share the conjugation, that is, there is no sharing of the conjugation. Whereas when I write such systems like furan systems, there is a conjugation between the benzene ring and the furan system. So here such a kind of systems could also be studied. So these are for the rigid planar compounds and aromatic compounds. Now why at all these all systems have to be affected? This is because of the alterations in temperature. It can be alteration in the pH, it can be alteration in the ionic strength, it can be alteration in the solvent, or it can be alteration in the ligand. This is what we will be learning in terms of variables affecting the fluorescence phenomena. A single fluorophore can generate thousands of detectable photons that can be repeatedly excited and detected. Therefore, fluorescence spectroscopy is said to be a highly sensitive spectroscopy. Now, for example, you have just seen an example for phenol. Now, see, sodium phenate have got electrons. These electrons, they can generate n number of emitted light systems, and that is n number of photon system. Now these can be generated and we can detect them easily. That is the system understanding that because there is a presence of Avogadro number of molecules in phenol as well as in phenate, we can easily get a detectable amount of fluorescence. When we get a detectable amount of fluorescence, we can easily say that this particular system is a highly sensitive phenomena. The next thing is studying structural changes in conjugated system. Now earlier when I just spoke about the pH system. Now how the pH affects any system. An example can be a cyanine dye. Now these dyes which I am representing here, they are in demand because they are called as responsive dyes. Now these responsive dyes are important because to understand the systems called as endocytic pathways. Now endocytic pathways are nothing but in mammalian cells, how we can understand the recycling of endosomes, how we can understand the degradation of lysosomes. All this can be studied by such type of fluorescent cyanine dyes. Now let us understand what happens in such fluorescent cyanine dyes. We can observe here that this is a weakly fluorescent dye because it is in its base form. Now can we not observe the nitrogens present here? They are in the base form, and hence there are also the conjugated systems over here. Basically all this system is said to be in a base form. Once this system gets protonated, that is we add some acidic system to this particular dye, there is a protonation at this nitrogen and there is a protonation at this nitrogen, and the conjugated system changes. Now can we not observe that the conjugation has moved and then it has come to these particular positions, and when the conjugation system changes, earlier which was a weakly fluorescent compound has changed into a strongly fluorescent compound. Such kind of dyes are used to understand endocytic pathways. Now these endocytic pathways are used to understand and visualize the pathways related to degradation of lysosomes or recycling of endosomes. The next major application is structural changes in aromatic compounds. Here also we can say that there is a pH. That means when the lone pair of electrons on aniline is present, we can easily see that there is a conjugated system because of the presence of this lone pair of electrons. Now we can get many resonating structures. Once we protonate this structure, these lone pair of electrons are lost, and hence there are very less number of conjugating structure. More the number of conjugating structures, there will be more fluorescence, whereas less the number of conjugating structure, that means the fluorescence is lost. So this is how we can understand structural changes in aromatic compounds. The next concept would be structural changes in rigid planar molecules. Now there is an influence of planarity, rigidity and internal atom. That means the internal atom meaning an external heavy atom like bromine, your chlorine system. These such atoms, they actually influence the fluorescence parameters and they allow the intersystem crossing rate in molecules. Let us see this with an example of biphenyl. This biphenyl system, the conjugation is within one ring only. It does not cross along two ring system. Hence there is no pi to pi star transition. When there is no pi to pi star transition, obviously there is very less emission. Though there is pi to pi star transition in the UV visible spectroscopy, but in the emission spectroscopy this actually is lost, because in an UV visible spectroscopy, what happens with the biphenyl system is the light is shined we can observe because of the presence of a double bond there is pi to pi star transition. There is a movement of the electrons from the ground state to an excited state. Now the ground state is pi and the excited state is pi star. In the emission system, it has to return back from pi star to pi. Now this phenomena from returning back from pi star to pi is very strong if there is a good conjugation. The conjugation is good, then this particular phenomena is a stronger phenomena. If there is no conjugation associated, that is less amount of conjugation across the rings, that means this pi star to pi phenomena is very less. Can we now observe this fluorescence? Now look at the rings over here. They are conjugated across the rings. Now because of this extended conjugation, it is easy to observe pi to pi star transition. It is also easier to observe pi star to pi transition. Now this particular phenomena is your absorption spectroscopy, whereas this particular phenomena is your fluorescence spectroscopy or emission spectroscopy. Now such kind of conjugated system, they also help in intersystem crossing. What is the meaning of intersystem crossing? The movement of singlet state to triplet state, which is a radiational less process, it is called as intersystem crossing. Thank you.